Hi, this is my Parker's Inheritance scavenger hunt. So how I did it was my students would be going around different parts of the school and classroom, and they would have to solve what was at that station, and they would get the clue that would lead them to the next one. And all the clues have to do with Parker's Inheritance, but the critical thinking would have to do with a worksheet that they'd bring them to each station, and each station would tell them what question to do, and that has to do with the important parts of the book. So my first station is students would solve a crossword puzzle, and the answers to each part of the crossword puzzle would form the clue, and they'd be in order. And the clue would be, where would you go after buying something from Sam's? And Sam's is a hot dog place from the book, so it connects to the book, and that would tell them, like, when you bought a hot dog from Sam's, you'd go to the cafeteria probably. So they would go to the cafeteria after they answered the question, and this station they'd have to answer question number 5, which is, how did you feel about the book switching timelines? Did it make you want to keep reading? Which timeline did you think was most interesting? So that's just the overall question about the whole book and how they felt about the format. Then, so they'd go to the cafeteria, and there they would have to rearrange the words they find for the next clue. There'd be different words scattered around, and one would have a capital, one would have a period to help them out. And this clue would be, you'll find your next clue where Abigail ruined her good name. And she ruined her good name with the tennis court, tearing it up, so they'd have to go to the tennis court outside. Hopefully the school has one. And yeah, before they did that, they would have to answer question 2. And question 2 is, do you think William Maynard, who is in chapter 37, should have told the truth and why? And I don't know if you remember, but he's the one who, he knew that the Allens were going to beat up the coach and Reggie, and he didn't ever tell the truth. So they'd have to think about that and why they think what they think. Then, so when they're at the tennis court, they would solve the riddle in the video. So they'd play a video that was set up there, and that one kind of has a 2-parter clue. So it'd say, a mirror for the famous, but information to all. I'll show you the world, but it may be a bit small. The first part. And then, where the kids found Enoch's love for baseball. And both of those would be leading to a TV, because they found out the clue for baseball in the video, and the riddle is a TV. And at that station, they'd have to answer question 1, which is, how do you think Brandon feels when he's bullied by Milo? How do you think Candace feels when she sees it happen? Yeah, because bullying is a big part of the book, and I really want them to think about how different parts of those scenarios feel. And then, once they find the TV in the classroom, they'd read a paragraph and gather the misspelled words in the paragraph, and it'd be in order of the words. They'd like gather them at the bottom, and it'd be in order of how the clue is, what the clue is. So that clue is this is where James Parker got his idea for Parker's Inheritance. So in the classroom, I'd have made like a fake cover and put it on a book, and it would have the title, The Westing Game, I believe it's called. Yeah, The Westing Game, placed on the cover at the front of the classroom, so they'd go up there after they answered question number 4. So, in question number 4 is, at the end of the book, Candace thinks, if the news won't tell the right stories, I will, one day. And what do you think she means? What kind of job do you think Candace might have when she grows up? So, for the first part, they'd be thinking about an overall theme of the book, racism, and like why they might not want to tell the story, and what like politicians might influence the writers or media to tell the story they want the media to hear and people to hear, and it might not be what really happened. And then also it alludes to like what Candace would want to be when she grows up, which is interesting, and they'd have to think about it. And yeah. So then the 5th and final step is find the matching letters to the numbers. So that is like what they did in the book, but they want to start at a random number, and I think they started at L for little dub. But it's like this, where like the letter corresponds to a number, and I'd have it more spaced out than this, but yeah, and it would spell out the clue, which is back where it all started. So go back where it all started. So this is where it all started in the book, is Candace finding the letter in the box in the attic. And I'd have a big box at the back of the classroom so that they'd just find it. They'd go there, and that'd be the last step. And they'd answer question number 3. And the last and final question is, I think I skipped one. Chip thinks that he's different from other white people, and in some ways he is, but when he talks to his father, he realizes that he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does. Can you think of a time you had to reconsider something you thought was true? What did you learn? Did you change your behavior? How could Chip change his behavior in the future? So they have to think about themselves and like anything where they had to change how they thought, and then they'd have to think about Chip. And it also relates to the big idea of racism and the changing times. So that is all my steps and all my clues.